Hello and welcome back to Born to Rant. I'm Brandon, and this week we are taking a look at a true relic of the 90s. The movie that taught us sometimes parents need to be treated like kids, and taught all of us the joys and horrors of group therapy. That's right, today we are taking a look at 1996's House Arrest. Directed by Harry Weiner and written by Michael Hitchcock, the movie stars a truly insane cast that includes Kyle Howard, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Wallace Shawn, Christopher McDonald, Jennifer Tilly, Kevin Pollak, and the Scream Queen herself, Jamie Lee Curtis. We'll take a look at how the movie came together, everything that makes it still worth watching today, and its legacy over 30 years later. Now, I don't know about the rest of you, but House Arrest is a movie that I would consider a cable staple. I feel like this movie played like every other week on TNT or USA or TBS throughout the late 90s and early 2000s. And that is really the only place I ever saw it. Ditto for its spiritual sequel, The Paper Brigade, but more on that movie a little bit later. House Arrest was a movie that would pretty much suck me in every time I stumbled across it playing though. It's just got a fun charm to it that's pretty hard to argue with. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Pollak are giving fantastic performances and seem to really be having a ton of fun with the physical comedy. Plus, who doesn't love to see Christopher McDonald act like the biggest jerk on the planet?
What is this? Vacation? Huh? We're being outwitted by a bunch of snot-nosed kids.
And yeah, this is a silly 90s kids movie where kids lock their parents in the basement. But also, as a child of divorce who would routinely watch this at my dad's house on the weekends, I actually think this movie is kind of deep when it comes to the world of divorce, specifically how divorce can affect kids. It gets weirdly heavy a couple different times, like when it's revealed that Jamie Lee's had divorce papers drawn up after lying, and saying that she and Pollak's Ned were only separating and that divorce wasn't even on the table as an option. I think Pollak, Curtis, and Howard all really get to shine here. Pollak and Howard are both so hurt, and Curtis is absolutely crushed and embarrassed by the situation. And I do think that the movie really did serve as wish fulfillment for a lot of kids of divorce out there. But before I start getting too deep into everything that I really enjoyed about House Arrest, let's first go back and learn a little bit more about how the movie came to be. Now, unfortunately, this is yet another movie where there is just not a ton of information about the making of the movie out there. There's no behind the scenes documentary, no oral history, there's not even a production section on the movie's Wikipedia page, which I would consider to be the bottom of the barrel from a research standpoint. So what I found is just fragmented stuff from various interviews I could find online. But the movie really all begins with this guy, Michael Hitchcock, who you may recognize from his roles on Mad TV, Serenity, Nobody Wants This, or The Lowdown. He's a funny guy, and I honestly never knew he was a screenwriter. But as far as I can tell, he wrote the screenplay for House Arrest on spec and then sold it to Reicher Entertainment, who financed the movie for $5 million and inked a distribution deal with MGM. As for casting stories, I actually found two conflicting stories from both director Harry Weiner and star Kyle Howard. In this old archived interview, Weiner says that Howard was the absolute last person cast for the movie, but then in this interview from a couple of years ago, Howard talks about being cast fairly early on in the process and even doing a chemistry read with Jennifer Love Hewitt. Anyway, as far as our adults are concerned though, Jamie Lee Curtis was fresh off of doing True Lies, which was a giant hit to put it mildly. Actually, it's kind of crazy that a movie this big and this good never gets talked about anymore because James Cameron has made even bigger and better movies since then. Well, some of them are better. Well, Titanic is better. Anyway, sounds like she had had a great time working on an action movie and wanted to do some more physical acting. And this script offered the opportunity to do some fun physical comedy, which I have to imagine is where stand-up comedian Kevin Pollak also enters the picture. But on March 5th, 1995, House Arrest went into production with a $5 million budget, and filming would primarily take place on a soundstage at CBS, but they would also travel to both Defiance and Chagrin Falls, Ohio for some exterior shots. And actually, Hitchcock happens to be from Defiance, Ohio, which is why the movie takes place there. As far as behind-the-scenes stories are concerned, the kids really loved the boa constrictor and would be constantly playing with it in between takes and setups. Jamie Lee Curtis also said that getting these rats to crawl on her was super easy because they were so well trained, and she had actually gotten the opportunity to train with them a couple days before even attempting the stunt. Then on August 14th, 1996, House Arrest would be released into theaters where it would make just $2.2 million and place 12th at the box office before going on to make a total of just $7 million against its $5 million budget. But the thing about this movie is that even though it didn't succeed in theaters, it would become successful through rentals and cable showings. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the only place I ever watched this movie was on cable until I was an adult. Apologies for the interruption, but I wanted to just jump in and quickly ask that if you're enjoying the video, that you take a second to either like the video or subscribe to the channel. Born to Rant is a completely independent channel, and I use absolutely no AI in the making of my videos, and if that means anything to you at all, your support would mean the world. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's dive into everything that makes House Arrest still worth watching today.
Grover, what are you doing up there?
I'm nailing the door shut.
There you go. He's nailing the door shut.
It's just drives.
What?
And I think let's start with the fact that this movie has some really beautiful moments throughout. First of all, the production design, specifically in the basement done by Peter Jameson and his team, is really strong. I love how filled the basement is with crap while simultaneously being completely empty. And I mean, just a quick shout out to Jameson, who also was the production designer on Point Break and the art director on David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, which is one of the best movies ever made in my opinion. But anyway, even the production design aside, cinematographer Yuli Steger does a great job photographing the entire movie. Sure, large chunks of the movie look like a generic 90s kids movie, but then Steger also goes out of his way to give different sections of the set different looks. Like, I like that the top of the basement stairs has this really ugly yellow tint to it, which I think is there to make this feel even more like a prison, but the real highlight from a cinematography standpoint is everything shot in the basement. It just has this really great vibe to it. I really love all the different colored lights and the fake palm trees and moon. I do also love the idea that these two kids were able to rig these lights up with these really nice gels on them all in an afternoon with no proper equipment.
When did your kids do all this?
When we got home from school. What do you think?
As for the movie itself, I like that we open with this montage of the Beindorf family's origin story, although it does go on way too long. Like, this movie is 108 minutes long, and this is definitely something I personally would have cut to get the runtime down to 90, but hey, that's just me. One thing I do really like and respect about this movie is that it immediately dives right in. The kids give their parents this very sweet anniversary gift they made for them, only for the parents to tell the kids they're getting separated. Of course, when Grover goes to school, his buddy Matt here explains to him that his parents are almost certainly getting divorced and says,
"If I were you, I'd lock them in a closet until they worked everything out."
So he and his little sister go home and somehow expertly decorate their unfinished basement and surprise their parents, only for it to quickly devolve into a fight between them.
I'm not yelling. I'm trying to get some control here.
Well, you don't get control by yelling at people.
So Grover and his sister do the only sensible thing they can and lock them in the basement. And fun fact, his sister looked so familiar to me, and it turns out she's played by Amy Sakasitz, who is responsible for the second most memorable moment in Dennis the Menace. And actually, let's pause here and talk about the kids a little bit more, because I do think we get a couple of really solid performances here. Kyle Howard is both incredibly unlikable and doing a great job as our lead character. Mooky Arizona is great as Grover's best friend Matt. And actually, this is one of only 2 movies that Mooky ever starred in. The other was Camp Nowhere, which we just talked about a couple weeks ago. But I think the 2 clear standouts when it comes to the kids are Jennifer Love Hewitt and Herbert Russell. Hewitt is great because she's like the only one of the kids in the movie to get to show any real emotional range. I mean, we also see Grover cry, but it's nothing compared to Hewitt. Russell, on the other hand, is just great as the self-conscious bully with a heart of gold. And I think the movie does a genuinely great job of evolving him from a camo and boot-wearing school bully to Grover's biggest champion and right-hand man. But also, he's responsible for a lot of the most fun moments in the movie, including my favorite bit where during the table setting montage, he throws and catches a plate to himself. And I really love that he just shows up to Grover's house with a security gate and installs it for them with no explanation, before coming back with his and Matt's parents, who are all tied up and gagged, and the montage of them getting the parents is so over the top and awesome. And once we have the 3 couples in the basement, the movie does really start heating up. Personally, I love how frustrated and angry Christopher McDonald is, and that he doesn't realize he keeps messing up their chances to be released by threatening the kids.
This is unlawful restraint. Now, that's a felony. You see?
Honey.
Come here!
I also think the dynamic between him and Sheila McCarthy as Gwenna is incredible. He's such an abusive, narcissistic jerk. I love their dynamic and the way the group slowly turns on Donald as he continues berating his wonderful wife. I do also love that it ends with them getting divorced and opening up a law firm together, though. But of course, now that we've got 6 adults trapped in a basement, we obviously need one more, and Grover runs into Jennifer Love Hewitt's Brooke at the library, makes her cry, and then offers his basement to trap her mom, which is obviously the best way to get any girl's attention. Jennifer Tilly is also just crushing it as Brooke's mom, Cindy. I mean, it's Jennifer Tilly. How could anyone ever be mad to see her pop up in a movie? And I actually think it's clever how the movie sets up her issue with one of the first things out of her mouth being,
Mom.
Brooke, don't call me Mom. I have a name. What is it?
I also think the relationship that she and Gwenna form is really special, with them each encouraging the other to grow up just a bit and not be so afraid. Some other highlights with the parents include Wallace Shawn and Carolyn Aaron as Vic and Louise Finley. I love how overly horny and inappropriate Shawn is at every turn.
And I'd take apart Louise's brassiere. You could wire the whole town.
It's just awesome to see him having so much fun, and I love the bit of Louise really needing a cigarette the entire time they're trapped in the basement. But of course, the main highlight of the parents is everything involving Jamie Lee Curtis and Kevin Pollak. One of my favorite subtle touches of their performances is how annoyed they are by the other parents arriving and just yelling to be let out. I also think the fact that they're the first of the couple to rekindle their relationship, only for it to immediately go to hell when the divorce papers from Janet's lawyer arrives, is genuinely strong emotional storytelling. Also, Pollak is giving a great performance throughout the whole movie, but him finding out about the divorce papers is just so good. He's so angry and you really feel for him, and then he somehow still makes it funny by yelling things like,
Talk to my attorney, McDonald.
And from here, the movie enters a pretty straightforward pattern. We get the kids causing mayhem, then trying to do group therapy with the parents. Then the parents will hatch a plan to escape, follow it through, and eventually get caught by the kids. And we do this cycle a couple of different times, but all the while we've got Ray Walston as Chief Rocco keeping an eye on things from across the street and slowly piecing it all together. Also, seeing Walston pop up really made me want to rewatch Fast Times at Ridgemont High just for the Mr. Hand scenes. But it all comes to a head when Wallace Shawn tries to escape through the window, only to get stuck in the concrete and Chief Rocco and the police to show up and find him. The kids surrender themselves, the parents are let out, and we get a nice little wraparound from Grover giving us updates on everyone's situations. And it ends with him, Brooke, Matt, and TJ now being the coolest kids at school. So 30 years later, what is the legacy of House Arrest? Well, I think for most millennials, it kind of lives in the space in the back of our brains where it's not on the level of Home Alone or even like a Three Ninjas, but it sits alongside stuff like Camp Nowhere quite nicely, a nice solid C-tier kids movie, which I guess I would describe as movies that didn't perform well at the box office, but played so often on cable. If you were an inside kid in the 90s and early 2000s, you just straight up couldn't ignore these movies. They were always on. This movie also features some all-time great 90s hairstyles. Well, okay, it's really just Grover's that's notable, but still, look at that hair. I also think it's funny that this was Jamie Lee Curtis's big follow-up to True Lies, and it's a $5 million movie that couldn't even cross the $10 million mark at the box office. Oh, and strangely enough, 21 years after the release of House Arrest, Kevin Pollak and Caroline Aaron would actually re-team, though this time they would actually get to play a married couple with problems, and they would do that for all 5 seasons of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Most of the kids in the movie wouldn't go on to do much else, and actually Kyle Howard would follow up House Arrest with The Paper Brigade, which was actually released just a couple months after this movie, and he is still acting today, but it looks like he's very much a working class actor. Herbert Russell is also still acting today, but it looks like he mostly gets single episode jobs on sitcoms, like he played Lon Swanson in an episode of Parks and Rec. And of course, Jennifer Love Hewitt would join Party of Five as a series regular shortly after this, and would then go on to become a very big star, and she's still super famous today. As for me, I had a pretty good time revisiting this movie, although I do think it's about 20 minutes too long. Okay, let's wrap this one up. If you've made it this far into the video, thank you for watching, and as always, an extra special thank you to all of my supporters over on Patreon and my channel members here on YouTube. Don't forget that members get early access to new videos and access to exclusive videos like these, with new exclusive videos coming every single month. You can also join any tier on either platform for a free trial period. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. It really helps me out more than you know. And that's going to do it for Born to Rant this week. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.